Welcome to another episode of Fresh Thinking by Snowden Optiro. My name's Ian Glacken. I'm an executive consultant at Snowden Optiro here in Perth. This is one of a series of podcasts that we're focusing on various commodities. Today we're going to talk about specifically hard rock lithium, which is particularly appropriate as we're sitting in the lithium room at the moment. Today we've got a couple of contributors. Dr. Andrew Scogings is a geologist with over 35 years of experience. He specialises in geometallurgy with respect to industrial minerals, and in this case lithium. Andrew has a particular interest in reporting requirements for industrial minerals and lithium according to the JORC and other codes. Susan Havlin is the managing consultant geology for Snowden Optiro in the Asia Pacific region. Susan is an experienced resource geologist. She specialises in, among other things, lithium and mineral sands estimation. Welcome, Andrew and Susan.
Thank you very much.
So today we're talking about hard rock lithium. To put this in perspective, lithium is generated from three broad styles of deposits. We have lithium brines, which is the greatest source of lithium production in the world. We also have lithium in clay, and the one we're going to focus on today is hard rock lithium. This represents all of the lithium produced in Australia. So Andrew, what are the primary lithium-bearing minerals and how do they vary?
The prime lithium, thanks Ian, the prime lithium-bearing minerals are spodumene, which is a type of pyroxene, petalite, which has about half the amount of lithium in as spodumene, and then we have micaceous minerals such as zinwaldite and lepidolite that contain potassium, iron, and other things as well as lithium. So there's really probably four main minerals, of which spodumene currently is of most interest.
So what are the mineralogical characteristics of those various minerals that dictate the extraction and processing of the particular hard rock resources?
Okay, interestingly, they have different chemistry and they have different densities. For example, spodumene has a density of around 3. It's really a pyroxene mineral. Petalite's lower than that, more like a feldspar, and that has about half the lithium content of the spodumene. And micas, as you can imagine, are flaky sort of minerals compared with the prismatic or other forms that we get the petalite in, and that requires different processing. So different types of densities, possibly magnetic separation to remove any magnetic minerals. And yes, that's about it.
So Andrew, would you say that the mineralogy is the primary determinant of the economic viability of these lithium deposits?
Okay, simply the spodumene concentrate will have more lithium in than a petalite concentrate or lepidolite concentrate, and the price of the concentrate really hinges on the amount of lithium. So one would expect a spodumene concentrate to be worth more as a general rule. But it's not the primary control over the resource. It's also things like the attitude of the deposit and the thickness of the pegmatites, the normal sort of stuff we'd expect.
So when geologists are exploring for lithium deposits, what are the mineralogical indicators that they're looking for?
When they're exploring, the obvious one is to look for the actual minerals you're looking for. And sometimes they're quite difficult to tell apart. For example, petalite can look just like potassium feldspar. Spodumene is probably a bit more obvious. It can range in colour from pink to green to yellow to I've even seen almost black or dark grey. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the chemistry, which is really dictated by the mineralogy or the other way around. So if you have a high K feldspar content, the rubidium and cesium might go up. So you can use ratios, for example, K to RB and CS as a good indicator. When you get into a spodumene zone itself, it's probably contains quartz, albite and spodumene, and you wouldn't expect much rubidium or cesium there unless you had a cesium mineral like pollucite. So yes, in short, you can use the geochemistry as a guide to the mineralogy.
Now, I know that the two main metallurgical extraction techniques are flotation and dense media separation. What is inherent in the mineralogy that would dictate either of those routes?
Okay, inherent in the mineralogy probably one of the things that's often been overlooked is spodumene can be nice gigantic crystals or nice elongate things, roughly that sort of size, but it can also occur as intergrowths with quartz. And then it makes it really difficult to extract the spodumene to liberate the very fine spodumene in quartz. So yes, they will impact whether you're going to use flotation or spirals or some sort of dense media.
Okay, so it's the nature of the crystals and the intergrowths.
Yes, very important with the gangue minerals.
Okay. So how do the mineralogical studies contribute to the resource estimation techniques?
I usually complicate things, but you can ask Susan. I always come up with these difficult questions, but I think the important thing is the internal zonation within the pegmatite. So you might find a pegmatite like that, and the spodumene's concentrated there, and then it decreases and there's more K-feldspar. So we need to, apart from domaining the pegmatite, is to actually do the internal mineralogical domaining, which could be by visual logging. I think that's very important. Or some old-style things like petrography, XRD, TEMO, ChemScan. There's many tools. But I think it is vital to understand that sort of thing.
Okay, great. So Susan, when we're thinking about assaying for lithium oxide, what are the different assaying techniques and how do they impact on the results that we get?
So the common ones that that are currently being used are 4-acid digest and sodium peroxide fusion. Now, we have had some issues with the 4-acid digest. I think Intertek are now saying that they can only do that method up to 1% lithium.
Yes, that's what they quote.
And so you've got to be really careful about which methodology you use. I mean, another issue that we're finding at the moment is there's not many standards which are done by the sodium peroxide fusion. So that's also causing some issues because, as we all know, we need to put in QA/QC.
A preferred assay method?
I'd go with the sodium peroxide fusion.
The only disadvantage of that, of course, is that you can't assay sodium. And sodium is an important component of the whole rock.
Right.
And we're lacking in standards for that method.
So I've been to a few nickel mines and someone might naively say we've got white rock and black rock. And from that point of view, you might say that the domaining is important. So what are the subtleties or the key issues with domaining and geological modelling for lithium pegmatite deposits? And what are the key contaminants when we're dealing with lithium estimation?
Well, what I think most companies are skipping is going back to the fundamentals of geology. And the most important part is defining the geology. So in the case of pegmatites, you need to define those pegmatites. Once you've defined the pegmatites, then you can then look at what sort of lithium grades you're getting within those pegmatites and then further domain within it. But we need to constrain it to those pegmatites.
So are you saying that within the pegmatite bodies themselves, we might have subdomains of higher or lower lithium content?
Oh, definitely. Not all pegmatites have got lithium in it. So it's very important to then look at your assays, look at your log probability plots, see if there's any kinks in it, as we say, to define what your mineralised pegmatites are.
And what the actual minerals are. I think that's the important thing. It's not just lithium. It's the mineralogy.
Right.
It's a bit like my favourite analogy of the supermarket,
Well,
which you've heard before. But if you go and buy meat, I don't go to the vegetable counter. And we want to do the same with these. And too many times people forget about the fact that they are domained internally and along the margins. And you can get metasomatism as well outside of the pegmatite.
Right.
That can blur the issue a little bit.
So it's not as simple as white rock and black rock. There's much more to it than that. How is the domaining affected by those different drilling techniques?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, it depends on your ore body. If you've got thick pegmatites, obviously your drilling technique isn't as critical, but there's a lot of deposits out there where it's thin, subvertical pegmatites, and in this case, RC drilling's good, as we all know, it's cheaper. And you can define your ore body, but you really do need to put diamond in because the RC you can't stop the RC on the contact, whereas you can sample the diamond at the contact of your pegmatites.
So one of the key issues then is the dilution and the relative contamination in the RC when it doesn't correspond exactly with the contact.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at pegmatites, which is sub the metre, then, an RC sample can't stop at the contact and start again. So it can you can overestimate your tonnes. You can smear in iron. That's a good key indicator to figure out whether you have got some country rock, other than obviously just logging, which should indicate whether you've got white or black rock or a mixture.
So the key issue then becomes the amount of dilution or contamination on the margins.
Yeah. That can be a big factor, especially on these thinner pegmatites.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I think that was a very interesting discussion we had there. Thank you very much, Susan and Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
If you'd like to listen to more of our Fresh Thinking podcasts, they're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Snowden Optiro website, YouTube, and anywhere where good podcasts are found. Thank you.